The South African Post Office is broke. It's failed to pay rent for some of its branches and is now closing them down. The delivery of services at these branches, including paying grant recipients, has come to a halt. Parliament's Oversight Committee was told the Post Office posted a net loss of 429 million. The DA's shadow Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Cameron MacKenzie, joins us now to look at what transpired in Parliament. Good morning. Talk us through what happened and what we are actually looking at here.
Yes, hi, good morning to you and to your viewers. You know, after 8 billion rand in bailouts over the last 7 years, you'd think the Post Office would at least be in a financially sustainable position. We heard before the committee that the net loss up until September 2020, which for Q2, was 429, as you said, 429 million rand. The government has, in its latest budget, only allocated the Post Office 500 million rand. So that allocation for the year is barely enough to cover the loss of one quarter. We're looking at literally a financial crash of 2 billion rand loss at the end of this year, end of March. That's where the Post Office is sitting, and absolutely no indication from government or anyone else how this loss is going to be funded. There's simply no money in Treasury for bailouts, so your guess is as good as mine.
How is it possible that we've seen such a radical loss in such a short space of time? I mean, the millions are just ratcheting up.
The Post Office has been in a loss-making situation for some time now, and we've had more turnaround plans than witnesses at the Zondo Commission. We've also had tremendous board instability after the departure of Mark Barnes, who in fact was a tremendous energy in the Post Office. When he left 2 years ago, the Post Office had 839 million rand in the bank. It had absolutely no government guarantees whatsoever because it had received a bailout, in all fairness. Since then, it's just continued to eat into that money. We can blame COVID. We can say COVID stopped mail and stopped mail collections, and yes, it did. But we're back in a position now where the Post Office should be open and thriving. It isn't. If you go into a postnet, you'll find a clean environment, you'll find motivated staff, you'll find services on offer. Anywhere you go, any postnet, thriving. You go into the post offices, you can't find them, they're closed. And let me give you a practical example. You've got a post office in Kagiso on the West Rand where people go to collect not only their normal social grants, but they go and collect their special 350 Rand COVID relief grant. When they arrive at that post office, they're going to find it closed. Their next post office is Mogale City. So you spend 20 Rand on a taxi, you go to Mogale City. When you arrive at that post office, guess what? It's also closed. Where do you go for your grants? So the little bit of money that the poor and the vulnerable do have that they're using to go and spend and collect their grants is being spent on transport, eating into that very grant that allows them to stay alive during this pandemic.
I mean, that's what really worries me about this travesty are the hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be affected by this. I mean, the Post Office is now saying that they've got a turnaround strategy and with a new CEO in place. I mean, is there anything that can be done? Why not sell it?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, if Minister Gordon published a very interesting op-ed in a Sunday newspaper where he referred to the Telkom model, which is basically a private-public partnership. You sell off the majority share in your entity to people that can actually do the job, deliver the mail, get the organization effective. Sell off the majority, retain a minority share, and then let the Post Office serve the people as it should. You know, you've got a post office in Bothaville in the Free State. It remains open thanks to the goodwill of the landlord who's seen the medicines coming in. She says, well, I can't close this post office because if I do, the people are going to have no medicine. You've got Colesberg in the Northern Cape. Landlord's closed it. After 6 months, he simply can't keep it open anymore. You've got the state of the post offices themselves. Go visit a post. Go visit Lone Hill where the electricity's off, or Weirder Valley where the air conditioning doesn't work. So you've got long queues of people standing outside the post offices as well to do their ordinary business, collect their mail, etc. But there's no social distancing outside the post offices. There's social distancing.
I mean, I'm just wondering what you're looking for in raising this important issue. I mean, you've got so many conflicting partners here. You've got government with one message, you've got the unions with another, you've got management that wants another look for the post office. Where to from here?
You know, I understand why the unions are jumping up and down, because salaries haven't been paid. And in all fairness to the SAPO staff, they've had 2 salary increases in the last 5 or 6 years. And they've bitten the bullet on this one because they've seen the state of their entity. But their medical aid contributions haven't been paid. Their pension contributions haven't been paid because the post office doesn't have any money to do this. So they're finding soft targets that they don't have to pay in order to kind of keep the doors open. What you could do is you could sell that off. You could retain that minority share. You could introduce a franchise model, for example, especially in rural areas. You could empower SMME development, local communities, by franchising those out. Malmesbury agents, for example, haven't been paid. So they're paying the rent and the telephone costs themselves in order to maintain this service. You could use your local petrol stations as drop-off and pick-up points for post. So there are many different things you can do. The post office does have the biggest footprint in the country, and it's definitely its unique selling point.
Okay,
so it
Cameron,
is a valuable...
sorry, we're going to have to leave it there. Cameron MacKenzie, thank
No
you.
problem.